Hey everyone, it's Hannah from Hand Done Crochet, and today we are making this flower granny square style bag together. We're going to make 17 of these motifs that I have here to show you. I'm making it in a different colorway this time. And then we join them all together, pop some handles on the top, and away you go. So let's have a look first at the materials we're going to need. To make my new version of the bag, I have chosen to use Upcycle Alpaca Blend, which is worsted weight yarn from We Crochet, and it's really lovely to work with, but you can use any worsted weight yarn that you like in any colours that you like. So you'll see in the pattern, which I'll put the link in the description below, you'll see that I have used 8 different colours plus then a main colour. So this is our colour A, this parchment here. But of course you can use as many or as few colours as you like. It would be absolutely beautiful to see different versions of this bag in the colours that you choose. And then also you're going to need a pair of scissors, a needle for your ends, and a 4.5mm or G+ crochet hook. So go grab your supplies. I'll link everything in the description, and then come back and we will begin by making one of these motifs together. Okay, so to begin our motif, we're going to work this sort of 3D floral section here in the middle. They're kind of like little petals that stick up, and it looks really tricky to do, but once you get the knack of it, it's really simple. So we begin by popping a slip knot onto the hook, and then we are going to chain 6. Then when we've done that, you're going to pop a slip stitch into that first chain, and we'll join it to make a ring. And now this is an intentional kind of hole in the middle of it here, so don't worry about that, we need that there. And then following on from that, we're going to chain 3, and that counts as a stitch. Then we need to work 3 double crochet into that chain 6. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And so you see I'm doing double crochet, US double crochets here. So that's now 1, 2, 3, and 4 stitches we have there. And we now need to turn and work the second row of this petal. And we do that by chaining 3. And then in that same first stitch at the bottom of the hook where that chain 3 has come from, we're going to pop a double crochet in there. And then we're going to pop a double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So we have 1 and 2, and then the third goes into the third chain of that chain 3 that we did at the beginning. So then that gives us 5 stitches, because that first chain 3 counts as a stitch. So we've got 4 on this first row and 5 on this second row, and that's our first petal complete. But the magic kind of happens now. We turn and we chain 3, and then we get ready to work another double crochet, and we're going to work into that chain 6 again, into that ring, and we're going to pop it behind our work here. So it's going to sit like this, and we're going to pop our hook into that chain 6, and we're going to work 4 double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then once you've done those, you'll see that you kind of get this loopy situation going on here, and that's what makes this thing 3D. And then that chain 3 is something we can then work into for the next round. So then we need to turn our work and work the second row of the petal. So 1, 2, 3, and then we work into that same stitch there, and then a double crochet into the next 3. And that will create your second petal. And then we turn and we chain 3, and then you go behind it again. You're going to scoot it along, and then into that chain 6 we're going to work 4 double crochet, and that's all there is to it. That's how your petals are formed, and that's what we will do for each of them. And we need 8 petals in total. Always find it hard crocheting a number of stitches while I'm saying different numbers. So there we go, that's the 4 for that next one. We turn, chain 3, a stitch into that same one, and then a double crochet into the next 3. and then we're ready to chain 3, and then off we go for the next petal. So we need to carry on, and you need to make 8 petals in that chain 6 space, and it does get quite crowded, so do just scoot it round when you're ready, and we want it that way, we want it to be nice and full. So work your 8 petals and then come back to me when you've worked that final chain 3, and I'll show you where we join and then how we start our next colour. So here we are on the final petal. I've just done my chain 3 here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that chain 3 that we did right at the very beginning. So this is our first petal here, so 1, 2 and 3, and I'm going to slip stitch into that 3rd chain that we have there, and then we're ready to break our yarn because I'm changing our colour here for round 2. Now you're ready to grab your next colour. So with our next colour, we are going to be working, if we turn it over, we'll see these chain 3s that we've got here. They're the spaces that we're now going to be working into. They're at the back of our petals. So you can join to absolutely any of them. So find yourself a chain 3 there that goes across the back and join your new colour. And we're going to chain 3 to begin, and that counts as a stitch. And then we're going to work another 2 double crochet into that chain 3, and then we will chain 2 and then work another 3 double crochet into that chain 3 space, and this is what's going to make our very first corner, because we want to turn this into a square now. So that's our first corner made, and then the next chain 3 at the back here, we are going to pop 3 double crochet in there. So 1, 2 and 3, and then the next chain 3 space we're going to work a corner, so we need a set of 3 double crochet, and then we chain 2 and then another 3 double crochet in there. Then we're ready in the next chain 3 to do 3 double crochet, and our next chain 3 gets a corner, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 chains, and then another 3 double crochet in that same place. 3 double crochet in the next chain 3, and then a corner in our next one. 1, 2 and 3, chain 2, and then 3 double crochet in the same, and then 3 double crochet in this last chain 3 space. So that should give you 4 corners. It always feels like more, but it should give you 4 corners and then 4 just sets of 3 double crochet. And then we get back to the beginning here, and we're going to slip stitch in that first stitch to join, and then we're ready to break our yarn again, because we'll change back to our first colour. But I mean, you don't have to, of course. If you've changed your colour sequence, then go with whatever works for you. So then for round 3, I'm going to be joining into one of these chain 2 corner spaces here. Now you can join into any of them. They will all work. And we'll start by chaining 1, and then we're going to work 3 single crochet into that chain 2 space. And that's going to give us our new corner there. And then I just work over the end of my tail just for that corner section, and then weave it in afterwards. And then what we need to do is a single crochet in each of the stitches along to the next corner, so along to the next chain 2 space. So that should be 9 stitches we go across. There we go. And then we arrive at the next corner and we're going to pop 3 single crochet in that chain 2 space. And then we just carry on repeating. We're going to pop a single crochet in all of the stitches to the next corner, so that's 9 of them. And then 3 single crochet in that last, oh no, it's not the last chain 2 space. I'm getting carried away with myself into the next chain 2 space. Then a single crochet in each stitch to the next. You kind of get the idea. We just go all the way around, working in this way. Now here we are at that last stitch, and we are now going to slip stitch in that first to join, and we're ready to break our yarn. And then for the final 2 rounds, you need to grab your colour A, your main colour for your bag. Okay, so here we are with colour A. And what we need to do to begin this round is we need to find the corner stitch. So any corner, they've all got 3 single crochet in them. So here we have 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to pop into that center one, into the second single crochet of those 3. And we are going to join, and we're going to chain 5. Now that chain 5 counts as a double crochet and then a chain 2. So we're then going to work a double crochet into the same stitch there, so into that corner stitch. So that gives us a double crochet, a chain 2, and a double crochet there. And then what we need to do is a double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch up until the next corner stitch. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 in that corner here. So we're going to work up until this first one here of those 3, and then our next corner will go into this second of those 3. So back loop only for this round. We're going to work a double crochet in each stitch until we get to that next corner. So now here we are at this next corner, and we are going to work into the full part of the stitch there. We're going to work a double crochet, a chain 2, and another double crochet all into that stitch for our next corner. And then all we need to do is carry on repeating. We're going to work a double crochet in the back loop only of each up until the next corner. So that is our repeat for this round. So keep working, and I will meet you back when we get to that first stitch, and then we'll be ready to work the final round. And here we are back at the beginning, and we're going to slip stitch into that third chain there, and we're ready to work the last round. So for the last round of our motifs, we're going to be using half double crochets. So we're going to chain 1, and we're in the top of that stitch here of the beginning of the corner, and we are going to work a half double crochet into that. And then we get to our chain 2 space for the corner, and we're going to work 5 half double crochet all squished into that chain space. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we need to work a half double crochet in each of the stitches up until we get to the next chain 2. And then we're ready to repeat what we've just done. We're going to work 5 half double crochet into this chain 2 space. And then a half double crochet in each of these stitches up until the next corner. And that's all we need to do. We need to repeat that all the way around, and I'll meet you back here at our very first stitch. Here we are at the end, and we're going to slip stitch into that first to join, and then we're ready to break our yarn. So our next task is to weave in our ends here and obviously make all 17 of the motifs. And then I think the important thing to show you now is how different these look when you have blocked them. It's so important with these motifs, I think, and especially as you're joining them together into a 3D shape, you won't be able to block them once they are joined together. So once you have weaved in your ends, then the next job is to block them, and I'll just quickly show you how I do mine. So here I am with one of my motifs that I have already blocked, and I'm just showing you how well it has kept to its measurements. So I have got it to 5 inches, and these blocking mats that I'm using here are absolutely fab because they have got the measurements on them. But don't worry if you haven't, just make yourself a little template for the size that you would like your motifs to be. And you can also get those wooden blocking mats as well, that are actually really good. So I put it out dry, and I always pin mine out dry, but you can wet it first if you prefer. And then I use these 4-prong pins to go along the sides and to pin it out across to the measurements. So then as a comparison, let me show you this one. I know I haven't weaved in my ends yet, but hopefully I'll be able to show you here the difference that it makes. So this is a good 1/2 inch off the measurements that it needs to be, and it's all curled and it's not quite level and all that kind of jazz. So by pinning it out, we are going to encourage it to be the size that we would like it to be. And it just helps open out all of those stitches and makes everything sit beautifully and neatly. And so just angle in from the side with your pins. Don't worry if you haven't got proper pins, don't worry if you haven't got proper blocking mats. Everything, you should be able to find what you need in your home. You can do this on a mattress, you can do it on kids' play blocks, you can do it wherever you've got a surface that you can just pin things into that you don't mind putting holes in. And so once you've got it pinned out, I then use just a water spray bottle that's, you can use for spraying plants, and then just use warm water. You can pop a little detergent in it if you want to, but the important thing here is make sure that you weave in your ends before you do it. You don't have to, but I find it works much better if you do. So spray it and then leave it for a good 24 to 48 hours until it's really nice and dry, and then you can take all of your pins out and you just won't believe the difference. So go ahead and get your motifs made, get the ends weaved in and get them blocked, and then meet me back and I'll show you how we join them all together. So now we have 17 completed and blocked squares. We're ready to join them together. Now I can't even fit them all on the camera here, but I am going to pop a diagram across there, so it should be coming across now to show you how to lay them out, and that's all detailed within the pattern of how to lay them together. And what we need to do first of all, it's a very odd shape, but we need to seam all of these together across all of these angles. And now when I'm doing mine, I'm going to use a flat slip stitch seam, and I'm going to go across the diagonals first, and then I will join the other diagonals as we go afterwards. So my first set will be in this corner here that I'm joining. I'm going to go across these two and work them there. So what I will do is I will shuffle everything off here, and I will just keep the ones that I need to show you, and I'll show you exactly how I do those seams. Okay, so here we are zoomed in to this area here. We're going to begin by joining these two together and then carrying on and joining these two together. And then the principle is exactly the same for all of the seams to join them. Now a flat slip stitch seam, we are going to be working, because we've got these half double crochets, if you turn them over or turn them on their ends, you're going to see that you've got 3 loops to choose from. Now because we're working in rounds, these half double crochets, they'll always have 3 loops, but these are the ones that we have. We have our front loop here, we have our back loop here, and then tucked right round here we have our 3rd loop. And now to join mine, I'm going to use this 3rd loop. You can obviously use whichever you like, but I find it gives loads and loads of extra texture can't say the word, texture to the seams of the bag, and I think it just adds loads of lovely interest. So we're going to join from the corner here. So in the corner here, remember we had 5 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, so that's the 3rd stitch we need to find there. And so pop your hook into that stitch, and then you also need to find the corresponding stitch here in this set of 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, here we go, into that one there. And then we are going to be working with the yarn laid across the back here. I knew that was going to pop out. There we go. The yarn laid across the back here, because what we're going to do is our long working tail is up here, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through both of the loops that we have on our hook, and that will start to secure it together for us. And then what we're going to be doing is working into the next stitch along, so the 3rd loop here, the furthest loop away, and then the 3rd loop of this next one as well. Then yarn over and pull through everything that you have. Same again, find your next stitch, find your next stitch, and yarn over and pull through everything. Now, if you don't like this joining method, no problem whatsoever. You can whip stitch them together, you can mattress stitch them together, you can single crochet them together. You can do whatever kind of join that you prefer. So go ahead and do all of your diagonals in one direction, and then I will meet you back here and I will show you how we join in the opposite direction. So here we are, I have joined all of these diagonals going in this direction, and you can see how lovely the seam is and how nicely it sits and gives that texture. So now what we need to do is join these diagonals here. So all I'm going to do is swivel the whole thing so that it's laying there ready for me, and we're going to join in exactly the same way by going into that furthest loop from us, that 3rd loop, and you're going to work along, and then when we get to here we're just going to chain 1 and go over the top of it. So I'll work this bit here and I'll show you just how simple that is to go over the top there. So here we are at that join, and all we're going to do is chain 1, and then you're going to work over the top of this join that we have already here, and then just pop straight over into the next set of motifs. And I do go into the stitch you already have joined and used, so that 3rd, that central one of the corner there, and that just helps to kind of overlock where you are and keep that seam really tight. And then you just carry along until you get to the end. So now we need to work all of these seams in this direction until everything is joined together and completely solid, and then you'll be ready to come and join me back again, and I'll show you how to fold it over and which parts of the sides we join for the final part of the bag. Right, so now we have all of our seams joined together, and we have this very strange shaped thing with two squares here and 2 squares here and lots of squares in the middle. And all we now need to do is, you'll see in the pattern there's a diagram that shows you how to join this next part. We're going to turn it so that we have it lengthways here, and this central line here, this 3 in the center, that's going to be where we fold. So we fold there just like that, and then line up our 2 tops here. This is going to be the top opening of your bag, and we're now going to seam the sides. But the thing with this corner here, I'm trying desperately not to shove everything off the side of the table, this corner here, what happens is that this square lines up and joins to both sides of this square, and that's what gives us our 3D shape. We're going to join here, and then we will seam this final side here. So the only thing that will stay open is this V at the top, because we will mimic and do exactly the same the other side. This will come up to join here and seam in there, and then we'll do along this side, and we'll do this all exactly in the same way that we did before with this slip stitch seam. So what I would do is begin, you can't do it all in one go, unfortunately. You need to do 2 different sections here. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to seam up to this corner with this point meeting it, and then I'm going to turn and flip the work over, and then I will seam down this other side. So I'll just quickly do this first one and flip over and show you where I'm at. So I'm going to begin by joining the yarn in the join that is already existing, so stitches that we have already worked into here. That will help give it some more stability. And then you just work your slip stitch seam as we have been doing all the way up to the point of this square. Now here we are at the very top of that square, and we are, as I say, going to flip ourselves right over, and then we are going to begin to join to this one. So we now need to work along this seam to make that 3D shape that we need. So carry on working in those furthest loops from you, those third loops, and just carry on until you reach the end of that seam, and then you're going to need to break your yarn, and then we will come back and we will do this top seam here, which is now much easier to see. You're just going to be working along these two squares here. So complete that for that side, and then you'll need to do exactly the same for the other side, and then pop back and we'll be ready to put the handles on. Now we have done our side seams, you can see that the bag looks like an actual bag. We have this run along the bottom where we folded it in half and joined it, and then we come up to the point here, and then don't judge me that I haven't done my ends yet, but this is our opening. And so now what we need to do to finish it off is to make two handles that we are going to pop on either side of the opening. And the great thing about these is you can make them as long or short as you like. So in the pattern I have suggested to chain 101 to begin yours, but you can just have a go, make a chain the length that you think you would like it to be, and then kind of stitch marker it from one side to the other side and see how it sits for you and what's a comfortable length for you. And then just make sure that the other strap is a matching length as well. So let's get cracking with making those. So here is one of the finished straps. I've made mine 100 stitches long, but you can make it as long or as short as you like. It's just a few rows that we repeat, and then we join the first and the last row together to make it into like a tube here, so it's got more sturdiness and more structure to it as a handle. So let's go ahead and make one of these together. So to begin our strap, I am going to pop a slip knot on the hook, and then I'm going to chain 101. So here we have 101, and now what we're going to do for row 1 is work into the back bumps and the second chain from the hook, and each along gets a single crochet in it. So we'll end up with 100 stitches for this row. And then when we get to the end of that row, we are going to turn, and then we're going to start working in the back loops only of this next row. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet into just the back loops of this row. So that's every stitch gets a single crochet in the back loop only. Here we are at the end of that row. Then we turn, and for our third row, we are going to be chaining 1 and then working into just the front loops now, because we want that texture to all push forward. So we're going to work a single crochet into the front loop only of each of the stitches across. And then what we need to do is repeat those last 2 rows. So then we'll do the back loop only on the next row, and then we'll do the front loop only on the following row. So if you go ahead and repeat all of those rows, and then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how we work the final row and join it to make it into a tube. There we are at the end of that row, and now our final row, as I say, is going to join this together to form a tube. So to do that, we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to work into the back loops only of this row here, but then we're also going to flip over and attach to the foundation chain that we had at the beginning. So we pop our hook into the first stitch of that foundation chain, and then we work a single crochet, and then we find the back loop of the next stitch on that next row, and then we find the next stitch along the foundation chain, and we pull through everything. It does take a bit of wiggling sometimes, and then single crochet, and that's all we need to do all the way along, just to join it all together. So go for it, and then at the end you break your yarn but leave yourself a long enough tail to sew your straps on, and then pop back and find me and we'll do that together and then we'll be done. Right, so our last job to do is to sew these straps in place at the points of the bag here. Now I like to put mine just inside, so I'm going to sew mine just inside here and onto these stitches here, and then my other strap will go just inside on these stitches here and loop around over to the other side. So I am going to begin this one here in this corner. And you're just using that tail that you had to begin with. And the thing is, you can go all the way through. We made this into a tube, didn't we? So make sure you go all the way through, because you then got double thickness of everything. And just sew as many times as you need to, giving good bites, good chunks of it, and attaching it really nice and securely here. Now, once you've gone once over everything, I would very, very much go back over everything and attach it here at the back. You're using the same, or I'm definitely using the same colour yarn here, so you don't need to worry too much about how neat it is, because it's all a muddle of stitches here at the moment anyway, and you just won't see. It's better for it to be secure and over sew it than not secure. So just over sew there until you're happy that it's nice and secure, and then I would run along to get back here to the end, and then do a final securing of this end here into this final stitch, and then weave that last end in. As you can see, I don't like my ends coming undone. I'll go over and over, and the thing is, we're working in the same colour yarn, so it's fine here. This is not going to show at all. So that's that side in, and then what we're going to do is we've got to be really careful not to twist it. We need it to all be facing the same way here, and then we pop this end onto the needle, and we do exactly the same in here. Start in that very corner and tuck it under, and then we sew in place. Now I am doing this rather awkwardly, obviously at arm's length, because I'm here on a table with the camera in front of me. So normally when I'm sewing straps on and things like this, I have them sort of right under my nose, so they're a bit closer and a bit easier to do. So hopefully yours won't look as awkward as mine does doing it here. But exactly the same principle as the first one that we did. Just sew it all in place and then weave your ends in, and then you'll flip your bag over and you'll pop your other strap in exactly the same way onto the other side.